Hello, good afternoon everyone. We are into physics class of your bridge course. Welcome to physics class for this year's bridge course. See, there is a notion that whenever you ask your seniors, there is a notion that physics is a little difficult. Numerical problems are hard to understand. Many of your seniors, maybe your brothers or sisters, elder ones might have told you. Thing is, if you get one logic, then physics is such an easy subject. Physics is such an easy subject. I'm sure once you get the grip of it, obviously once you get that small little techniques as to how to analyze the problem, which of course all the teachers here in XLBU college are going to tell you how to get the grip of things, how to use that easy technique, that will surely make you get the grip on the topic, how to solve the problems. Okay? I hope most of you know Kannada, so that I'll talk generally for a few minutes, 2 or 3 minutes. Usually physics ಅಂದ್ರೆ ಎಲ್ರಿಗೂ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅಂತ ಉಂಟು, ಬಟ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ ಇಸ್ ನೀವು ಜಾಸ್ತಿ ಪ್ರಾಬ್ಲಮ್ಸ್ನ ಸಾಲ್ವ್ ಮಾಡಿದ್ರೆ ಮತ್ತೆ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಥಿಯರಿ ನಾವು ಏನು ಹೇಳಿಕೊಡ್ತೇವೆ ಅದನ್ನ ಒಂದು ನೆನಪಲ್ಲಿ ಇಟ್ಕೊಂಡ್ರೆ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಯಾವತ್ತೂ ಸಹ ಕಷ್ಟ ಅಲ್ಲ. ಆ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಥಿಯರಿನೇ ಬಿಲ್ಡ್ ಆಗುದು ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್. ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಆ ಬೇಸಿಕ್ ಥಿಯರಿಯನ್ನು ಆಗಾಗ ನಾವೊಂದು ಮನನ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ, ರಿವಿಷನ್ ಮಾಡ್ತಾ ಇದ್ರೆ ಈಸಿ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಖಂಡಿತ. ಹೆಚ್ಚಿನವರಿಗೆ ಮ್ಯಾಥ್ಸ್ ಯಾರಿಗೆಲ್ಲ ಫೇವ್ರೇಟ್ ಉಂಟು 10th ಅಲ್ಲಿ, ಅಂಥವರಿಗೆ PUCಗೆ ಬರುವಾಗ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಫೇವ್ರೇಟ್ ಸಬ್ಜೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗುವ ಎಷ್ಟೋ ನಿದರ್ಶನ ಉಂಟು. ಕೆಲವರಿಗೆ ಕಷ್ಟ ಸಹ ಆಗ್ತದೆ, ಇಲ್ಲ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುದಿಲ್ಲ, ನಾನು ಆ ಸೈಡನ್ನು ಕಂಪ್ಲೀಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಏನು ಇಲ್ಲ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಈಸಿ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾ ಇಲ್ಲ, ಬಟ್ ಆಗ್ತದೆ ಈಸಿ, ಖಂಡಿತ ಈಸಿ. ಯಾವಾಗ ಆ ಒಂದು ಬೇಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಇಂದ ನಾವು ಈಗ ಬ್ರಿಡ್ಜ್ ಕೋರ್ಸ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಕಲಿತೇವೆ ನೋಡಿ, ಅದನ್ನ ಕಲಿತು ಅದನ್ನ ಅಪ್ಲೈ ಮಾಡ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಗೊತ್ತಾದ್ರೆ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಈಸಿ. ಓಕೆ, ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ತುಂಬಾ ಈಸಿ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಸೊ ನೀವು 10th ಅಲ್ಲಿ ತುಂಬಾ ರೇ ಆಪ್ಟಿಕ್ಸ್ ಎಲ್ಲ ಓದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಮೂವಿಂಗ್ ಚಾರ್ಜಸ್, ಮ್ಯಾಗ್ನೆಟಿಸಮ್ ಓದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಮತ್ತೆ ಕರೆಂಟ್ ಎಲೆಕ್ಟ್ರಿಸಿಟಿ ಓದಿರ್ಬೋದು, ಚಾರ್ಜ್ ಫೀಲ್ಡ್, ಪೊಟೆನ್ಷಿಯಲ್ ಅಂತ ಎಲ್ಲ ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ಸ್ ಓದಿರ್ಬೋದು. ಅದರ ಮುಂಚೆ 9th ಅಥವಾ ಕೆಲವರಿಗೆ 8th ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನ್ಯೂಟನ್ಸ್ ಲಾಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೋಷನ್, ಕೈನಮೆಟಿಕ್ ಇಕ್ವೇಶನ್ಸ್ ಆಫ್ ಮೋಷನ್ ಇದೆಲ್ಲ ಇತ್ತು. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಅದನ್ನು ಇನ್ನೊಮ್ಮೆ ನಾವು ರಿವಿಷನ್ ಮಾಡಿ. ಇಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಮೋರ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆಂಟ್ ಫಾರ್ PUC. ಯು ಆರ್ ಲರ್ನಿಂಗ್ ದೆಮ್ ಆಸ್ just mere formulae when you are in high school. Maybe you have solved some problems, but when you come to PUC, these formulas play a major role when you are trying to solve the problems. So physics, of course, is a branch of science which deals with everything under the sun. ಇದನ್ನ ಫಿಸಿಕ್ಸ್ ಅನ್ನ ನಾವು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ ಭೌತಶಾಸ್ತ್ರ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಸೊ ದ ಇಂಡಿಯನ್ ವರ್ಷನ್ ಆಫ್ ದ ಡೆಫಿನೇಷನ್ ಇಸ್, ಭೌತಶಾಸ್ತ್ರವೆಂದರೆ ಪಂಚಭೂತಗಳು ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ, ಪಂಚಭೂತಗಳ ಅಧ್ಯಯನ ಅಂತ ಅರ್ಥ. ಇಟ್ ಲುಕ್ಸ್ ವೆರಿ ಫನ್ನಿ ಫಾರ್ ಯು, ಬಟ್ ದಟ್ ಈಸ್ ಎವ್ರಿಥಿಂಗ್. ನೀರು, ಅಗ್ನಿ, ಗಾಳಿ, ಪೃಥ್ವಿ, ಆಲ್ ದೀಸ್ ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್. ಸೊ ನೀರು, ಅಗ್ನಿ, ಗಾಳಿ, ಪೃಥ್ವಿ ಮತ್ತೆ ಆಕಾಶ, ಇದನ್ನೆಲ್ಲ ನಾವು ಪಂಚಭೂತಗಳು ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೇವೆ. ಬಟ್ ಸೈಂಟಿಫಿಕಲಿ there is no ಆಕಾಶ. Actually sky is not there. It's just a dispersion of the particle. So if you want to study physics, see, we study about liquids, we study about thermal heat, we study about winds, fluids, we study about gravitation, earth, planets, everything, and we study about space. So physics is nothing but study of each and everything. that is under some limit or under the sun. So we study galaxies, we study planets, we study solar system, we study water, ocean, depth, pressure, fluid pressure, excess pressure, we study electric currents, so everything is included. Physics is a branch of science which deals with matter and states of matter. So almost chemistry and physics definition looks similar. Okay, it is a branch of physics, branch of science which deals with matter and space. Okay, it looks similar, but thing is in chemistry they will go to micro level. In physics we will study mechanics, we will study more of macro level. That is a slight difference. They will go inside the atom, we will club together many atoms and we will see how does it interact with the other. That is how we usually deal. There are many branches of physics. Mainly, if you go, it is mechanics, and then it is modern physics. Modern physics is in the late 1900s, after 1895. Once X-rays were discovered, this is whatever the research that went on after 1895 is called modern physics. Mechanics, you have classical mechanics and you have quantum, energy related mechanics. This is modern type of mechanics. This is modern, and in PUC, in your pre-university course, you are not going to study quantum mechanics at all. What you are going to study is the basics, classical mechanics. Okay, in classical mechanics, first you have to study kinematics. Kinematics means motion of a body, movement of a body, motion of a body, and in then you have to study laws of motion. You have to study laws of motion, work, power, etc. Gravitation. You have to study many more things. So these are classified under mechanics. Also, there is a separate branch which you have already studied in 10th, that is optics, and there are two types of optics. One is ray optics. I am sure you studied this in your high school classes. Ray optics, correct? And then these are all wave optics. Both will be studied in second PUC. After mechanics comes also there is electronics part. If I go with mechanics and modern physics, the electronics part is also a bit of a mechanics only. Electronics part, there are many more. Conductor electronics, semiconductors, all these will be studied again in second PUC. So, if you get a rough idea now, whatever you have studied in 10th, you will be dealing them in second PUC. Whatever you have studied before 10th, say in the 9th or in 8th, say like laws of motion, what is work, kinematics, all these things you are going to study in first PUC itself. In first PUC itself. So our first topic of discussion of the bridge course for all the CBSE and ICSE students is kinematics this year. Kinematics, that is a basic. Some boards have it in 8th standard, some boards have it in your high school, obviously in 9th standard. So we will just deal them first. What is kinematics, how it works, all these things we will see. Then probably we will move on to maybe very interesting chapter called laws of motion, given by the great scientist Newton. And then from there we will go to what is work, what you mean by power of any object, power of the vehicle maybe, power of a person maybe, all these things. Then we may study gravitation, which is a very interesting another subject. Is that clear? So that is gravitation. So every chapter has its own essence. ಅದಕ್ಕೆ ಅದರದ್ದೇ ಒಂದು ಫ್ರಾಗ್ಮೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ, ಅದರದ್ದೇ ಒಂದು ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಇದೆ. ಓಕೆ, ಸೊ ಎವ್ರಿ ಚಾಪ್ಟರ್ ಹ್ಯಾಸ್ ದಟ್ ಸ್ಪೆಷಲ್ ಯುನೀಕ್ ಇಂಪಾರ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಟ್ಯಾಚ್ಡ್ ಟು ಇಟ್, and yet it is very different. All the principles look similar. Okay, all the principles look similar, yet sir, there is something different to study. Basics are same, applying those basics, something else, something extra to study, which will make you very interesting in these classes. Don't look at it in exam point of view. However, you are relaxed, you try to learn them, you try to learn them more. Is that clear? Try to learn them with a free mind. Then you will love listening to physics classes. Don't ever go by exam, at least for now, in this bridge course. So we will go to kinematics. What is kinematics? Kinetic means you associate movement. The word kinetic means you associate movement with the object, correct? So, a branch of physics deals with motion of the object, is called kinematics. So the motion of the object is dealt in a branch of physics called kinematics. There are two kinds of motion. When you can travel along a straight line, motion, that is movement of an object along a straight line, or motion of an object along a of an object in a plane. There is a difference. Suppose, sari nodi, if I am starting from point A, I am moving in this direction, which I will call it as a x-axis. I will call this as x-axis. If I start from this position, if a person starts from this position and he moves straight through and finishes in his final position B, then he is moving along a straight line only, and he is moving along only one direction. His movement is only along x-axis. Suppose if you are jumping, your movement is only along z-axis. Okay? Movement is along z-axis. I hope you know x, y and z axis. If this is x axis, then in the same plane, what happens? This is y axis, this is z axis. Okay? I hope it is clear to you. See, this is XY plane, it is called. The flooring of a home is a XY plane. Floor in which we walk is a XY plane. Z is vertically upwards. Our height, if I am still now and if somebody is measuring my height, it is along the Z axis. Correct? Okay. So I hope it is clear. If this is a XY plane, then the plane, if somebody measure my height along with my width, then it is XZ plane. This is that plane. XZ plane. And if somebody measures, if this is X, somebody measures the thickness along with the height, then that is YZ plane. I hope it is clear to you. ಇದನ್ನ YZ plane ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ. I am sure it is okay with you. ನೋಡಿ, corners, ಈಗ ಒಂದು, if there is a room, I am very good at drawing. You will see this because you can't understand any drawings of mine. Okay, on a lighter note, see, if this is a wall, there are two adjacent walls, no? Adjacent walls. Okay, this is Z axis. If I consider this as the X, automatically this side of the wall should be Y. So, idaga YZ agutte mukle. The height of the wall is along YZ plane, and idu flooring is XY. I hope I made it clear. If the board is XZ plane, the adjacent to the board, if there is a wall, this is the adjacent wall to the board, then this is YZ plane. Correct? Z and it is along Y. This is, notice, X and Y are perpendicular to each other. This is X, this is Y axis. So, idu YZ, XZ, XY, that is how it is. So, this you should be knowing. Okay, I hope all of you know it, but starting from the basics. So, okay, so suppose the movement is like this also, then also it is a straight line only. Then also it is straight line only, but thing is, it involves some change in coordinates. Suppose the body moves from A to B, then it involves some coordinate change. Some coordinate change along X axis and some coordinate along Y axis. If I consider, I am moving in a floor, not exactly in a straight line, but I am moving across like this. See, moving straight along the X axis or moving straight along the Y axis this way. So I am moving partially making some angle theta with the X axis, and obviously that angle will be 90 minus theta with the Y axis. Here cross alli hogta iddane. Then though my movement is along the straight line, the movement or the distance travelled by me, ನಾನು ಎಷ್ಟು ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಇಲ್ಲಿಂದ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇದ್ದೇನೆ, that can only be given by X and Y directions. Let alone X, let alone Y, they cannot give me how much I have travelled. Correct? X or Y cannot give me how much I have travelled. So, to get the measure of the distance that I have travelled, it should be from A to B, which is the distance I travelled. The displacement along the, or the movement along the Y direction, movement along the X direction, both must be considered. That time I am moving in a xy plane item. My movement is along x and y axis included forms a plane. So that is called motion in a plane. Kinematics are divided into motion along a straight line and motion in a plane. So if a movement is not exactly along one axis, either it is x or it is y, the movement is said to be in a plane. If at all this is x axis and this is how I move from A to B, then this is motion along a single direction. That is motion in one direction or motion in one dimension. So motion in one dimension or motion is along one direction. That is called motion in 1D. Clear? Okay. If at all, if it involves a displacement of both x and y, then it is motion in a plane. It will become motion in a plane. I hope it is clear. This is motion in one direction, motion in one axis, or it is motion in one dimension. From here on we call it as motion in 1D. Technically, all the physics teachers, all the physics students would call chapter 1D or motion in 1D. One dimension, one direction, movement along one axis. It can be either Z or Y or X. But the movement should be either along Y axis only, either along X axis only, or either along Z axis only. Such directions are, such motions which are either only along Z, only along X, or only along Y are called motion in 1D. And this is the very first chapter which we are going to study in first PUC. Of course, there is, if you see the NCERT book of first PUC, there is a chapter called Physical World and Units and Dimensions. But all those things are little non-technical, they are theory type. This is more of technical type. That is why always we are going to deal motion in 1D. Okay? Motion in 1D. So, we will study this chapter. So kinematics, we are going to start after the introduction, motion in one dimension. That is motion in one dimension it is. Okay, motion in one dimension. This is a chapter in NCERT textbook. Its name is motion along a straight line. Motion along a straight line. I hope everything I've understood whatever we have discussed so far. Now let us technically go on to this. If there is any queries, you can leave us a message. Okay. ಇಲ್ವಾ? ಓಕೆ. ಹಾಂ, one minute students. ಬೇಡ ಬೇಡ ಬೇಡ. Okay, so we will continue. I hope everyone is able to see me and get my voice. One minute. Srinidhi? 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 Srinidhi sir? Okay, so I hope everybody can see. Okay, so we'll continue this. Now, see, from A to B, we are moving, okay? From A to B, we are moving. Sorry, check one. Oh, light ಕೊಡ್ತಿಂಡು and ಒಂದು ಅದನ್ನ ಬೇಟೆ ಹಂಗೆ ಮಾರೆ ನಾ ಒಂದು ತುಲಗೆ Okay, so A to B we are moving. Okay, A to B we are moving along a straight line. So only one dimension we are studying in this chapter. Only one dimension we are studying in this chapter. Okay, so this is one dimension, motion in one dimension. Now see all of you, this is my final point, okay? B is my final point. Suppose the distance is x or distance is d, okay? Distance is d. Somebody can come like this also to that point. Somebody will choose this path to come to that point. People like me and you who are smart will choose the shortest path to conserve energy. Correct? To conserve energy. So, out of all three, which is the shortest distance? Obviously we would know. The shortest distance is the third path. This is the second path. This is the first path. So, third path is the shortest distance. Third path is the shortest distance. Is that clear? Third path is the shortest distance. Second path and the first are not the shortest ones. Okay. So, is there any difference to this shortest distance and not so shortest distance? In technical terms, yes. Technical terms, the shortest distance between 2 points. You geometrically have studied. It is a straight line. But I told you it can be in x and y plane also, which we are going to study in the next chapter. Now, if there are 2 points lying in the same axis, if there are 2 points lying in the same axis, lying in the same axis, then the shortest distance between them is a straight line along the same axis. No, along the same axis. Okay, so this is along the same axis. That shortest distance which we chosen as a third path is called displacement. Okay, it might look weird to you why I use Kannada words, but sometimes to understand better we need to use Kannada words. This is called ಸ್ಥಳಾಂತರ. ಅಂತ ಹೇಳಿದ್ರೇನು? ಒಂದು ಜಾಗದಿಂದ ಇನ್ನೊಂದು ಜಾಗಕ್ಕೆ ನೀವು ಸ್ಥಳಾಂತರಗೊಳ್ಳಲ್ಪಟ್ಟಿದ್ದೀರಿ. Or it is called ಸ್ಥಾನ ಪಲ್ಲಟ. ಈ ತರ ಹೇಳ್ತಾರೆ ಇದನ್ನು ಕನ್ನಡದಲ್ಲಿ. ನಿಮಗೆ ಇದರದ್ದು ವ್ಯತ್ಯಾಸ ಗೊತ್ತಾಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ಫಸ್ಟ್ ಮತ್ತು ಸೆಕೆಂಡ್ ಪಾತ್ ಉಂಟಲ್ಲ, ಅದು ಚಲಿಸಿದ ದೂರ ಅಂತ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಚಲಿಸಿದ ದೂರ, ಅದನ್ನು ನಾವು ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳುದು. ಇವತ್ತಿಂದ ಟೆಕ್ನಿಕಲಿ ದೇರ್ ಆರ್ 2 ಥಿಂಗ್ಸ್: ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್ ಟ್ರಾವೆಲ್ಡ್ ಅಂಡ್ ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್. ನಾವು ಹೈವೇಯಲ್ಲಿ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ರೋಡ್ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅದು ಡಿಸ್ಪ್ಲೇಸ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಆಗುತ್ತೆ. ಅದೇ ರೋಡು ಅಂತ ಹಾವಿನ ತರ ಇದ್ರೆ ಅಥವಾ ಒಂಥರ ಕರ್ವಿ ರೋಡ್ಸ್ ಇದ್ರೆ that will be what? Distance. So ಈ ಪಾತ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ನಾವು ಡಿಫ್ರೆಂಟ್ ಆಗಿ ಹೋಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋದು. ಇದು this is distance traveled, this is distance, whereas third path is displacement. I hope you understood the difference between displacement and distance. Distance is the actual path length that you have traveled. Displacement is the minimum distance between the final and initial position. I hope it is technically clear to all of you. I hope it is clear to you. Okay, any doubts you just message so that I can answer. Yes, if any doubts, message. Okay, so I'll explain both displacement and distance and once again with the definitions also. Okay. Okay, see here, I want to move from Bangalore to Dharwad. Okay, straight highway. You assume there is no such sure straight highway, but Dharwad. Say distance is about 370 kilometers. I don't know what is the exact distance. Okay. If somebody goes to Rani Vellore, meets his relative, again joins in the highway, then moves together. Path 1 and path 2 are different. If I decide the paths now, path 2 is like this, correct? Path 2 is like this. Path 1 is like this. So, displacement is the shortest distance. Please take down displacement is the shortest distance between displacement is the shortest distance between initial position Bangalore, final position Dharwad. So you assume, it is very difficult to assume, but you assume that the road is very straight, okay? Straight only. The distance, shortest distance between any 2 points is a straight line. That is why displacement is the shortest distance between initial and final position. Initial and final position. That is called displacement. If somebody moves with a larger distance, then what happens? See, suppose somebody started along with you only from Bangalore, you reach Dharwad with the shortest distance. That is called displacement. I hope all of you understood what is displacement. If your friend's family started from Bangalore with you, but they had some relatives function at say Rani Vellore or Shivamogga, they take another path, then they join by the highway and reach Dharwad. They have come with not the shortest route. It may not be the longest route, but certainly it is not the shortest route. So, any distance traveled, they have traveled more than what it is required. So, they have traveled some path length. Actual path length is distance. Displacement is shortest distance between initial and final position. Final position is Dharwad, initial position is Bangalore. So between them, if there is a 370 kilometer straight road, then you are getting displaced. Suppose somebody does not prefer that road, takes a longer road, maybe they are having some work, then it is distance traveled by them. I hope both the things are clear to you. If any doubts, again message. Okay, I have cleared your doubts, I guess. So you know the difference now between displacement and distance. So I will write down the differences now. We will write the differences between distance and displacement. Distance, displacement. Distance and displacement. Okay. Distance, how do you define? As we have defined, actual path length traveled. Actual path length or path length traveled is distance. Actual path length traveled is distance. What about displacement? Tell me, the displacement is nothing but shortest distance between initial and final position. Shortest distance between initial and final position. Initial and final position. Okay. This depends on the path you travel. Depends on the path traveled. More is the path you travel, more is the distance you travel. Is that clear? Depends on the path traveled by the object. Depends on the path traveled by the object. Displacement is clearly independent of the path traveled, because see, suppose the roads are like this between two destinations, say Mysore to Ooty, Ghat section, correct? Correct. There is no choice for you but to follow the road. Of course, if you want to be safe and traveling in a vehicle on a lighter note, so what happens? This is the way you travel. Of course, the road looks more turns and more curvy. Anyway, this is a path you travel. Correct? That is a distance you travel. Nobody can take away from the fact that this is the shortest distance. Correct? But you can't travel that shortest distance, maybe due to the geographical conditions, geographical limitations of performing the road, correct? Or constructing the road. So always, not always you can construct a road with the shortest path, right? It depends on how the surrounding vicinity is, how the surroundings are, all these things. So what do you do? What do you do? You try to follow the road only, which is not always the shortest path. So, if you travel by the road, you travel more by the road than it is distance. It depends on how much you travel by the road. So, it depends on the path you travel. Whereas, though it is not the path to travel, ಇದು ನಮಗೆ ಹೋಗಲಿಕ್ಕೆ road, but it is not a displacement, no? This is not displacement. Displacement is the dotted line. Even if the roads are not there, nobody can take away the fact that this is the straight line which is the shortest distance between Mysore and Ooty. Correct? This is the shortest possible path. If at all roads are made. I hope all these things are clear to you. If at all the roads are made like this is the shortest possible path. Sadly, roads cannot be constructed because of the hill areas and all. But still, this dotted line remains the shortest possible path between Mysore and Ooty. That is why whatever the path you choose to travel, the displacement remains independent of the path. Displacement remains independent of the path. Independent of the path traveled. Distance is a scalar quantity. Distance is a scalar quantity. What do you mean by scalar? Scalar is the physical quantity having only magnitude. Distance is the node. If you want to know the direction here this way, Direction here this way, direction here this way. Here the direction of the motion is downwards. How the direction keeps changing. That is why it is not having specific direction. That is why it is a scalar quantity. Whereas if you see the direction of the displacement, always from Mysore to Ooty it is directed. That is why displacement is a vector quantity. What do you mean by vector quantity, students? Vector quantity is that physical quantity which is having both magnitude and direction. Correct? Priyanka, you have answered it correctly. Okay, so vector quantity is the physical quantity having both direction and magnitude. So, if you see here, shortest distance between the 2 points has a magnitude. So, and its direction is always from the starting point to the final point. From the starting point to the final point. That is why it is a vector quantity. I hope all these things are clear to you today. Any doubts, you can message me for next couple of minutes. I will try to clear your doubts. Okay? I'll try to clear that doubts. Many more to come. There is positive displacement, there is negative displacement, and there is zero displacement. All these things we will study. Everything is clear to you? So you can think of what is distance and what is displacement. Whatever we are traveling in our roads, normal road, whether it is displacement or distance, please answer me. Please answer me through the message. Whatever we are traveling through vehicles in our roads, whether it is distance traveled or displacement, okay? Whatever we travel through our roads are not straight in India, correct? So, it is not the shortest distance we travel, it is distance we travel, it is not a displacement. It is not the shortest distance between 2 points in our routes. Usually our roads will be like this, no? Or maybe slight little changes. ಹೀಗೆ ಇದ್ದದ್ದು ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಹೀಗೆಲ್ಲ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್ ಇರ್ತದೆ, ಸ್ವಲ್ಪ ಈ ತರ ಎಲ್ಲ ಇರುತ್ತೆ ರೋಡ್ಸ್, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್? ಸೊ ದಿಸ್ ಈಸ್ ಡಿಸ್ಟೆನ್ಸ್. ಹೈವೇ ಪಕ್ಕಾ ಸ್ಟ್ರೈಟ್, then distance and displacement will be same. Hope it is clear. We will come to that point also. If somebody is moving in a ground, okay, if somebody is moving in a ground of radius r, its radius is r, so it is a circular track made for students sports activities. Okay, this is a circular track r made for students sports activities. Okay, if some person here starts to run and he is here, okay, then what is the distance? So it is simple as possible I will try to make. So somebody follows this track, okay, this is of radius so much r, okay, this is of radius r. He starts from his original position and starts to run. like this. After some times he is here. Now I want to know, just try to think and write the answer. What is the distance and what is the displacement? I am giving you a simple example as to calculate what is the distance and what is the displacement in this case. Try to answer. Yes, we'll have that activity. Try to answer. Yes, Ramesh, very good. Displacement is 2r. Very good. What about distance traveled? Pi r. Very good, Navtej. And yes, Vishnukant, doing good. Well, very good, very good. Most of you. Suhas, Navtej, yes. Very good. See, displacement is actual path length, correct? Displacement is actual path length. So, how much he has traveled? Half circumference. Half circumference is a distance. Half circumference is a distance. That is half into 2 pi r, which is pi r is the distance. What about displacement? This is the initial position. Ideno final position. So the shortest distance between initial and final position 2r. He is diametrically opposite. So distance traveled is pi r. Displacement is 2r. Which is bigger? Obviously this is bigger. 3.14 r. No? This is only 2r. So most of the times, or almost all the time, distance traveled is usually greater than displacement. Usually distance traveled is greater than displacement. Overwhelmed by your response. Many of you have answered properly. Very good. Okay, keep this interest going. Have you understood this concept now? Distance is greater than displacement. Distance is greater than displacement. Okay. Now I will tell you very interesting thing. Now he starts to run again. And he will be back here. This is for half revolution. For half revolution. Now when he has completed one revolution, for one revolution, what happens now? For one revolution, tell me, see, this person started again, started from here to, he has come to here, we have calculated what is the distance and displacement. Again he continues now and comes back to this position. Now for one revolution, distance and displacement. I want distance and displacement. What is the distance? What is the displacement? Yes, Prakash, zero displacement it is, because the final position is the initial position. So there is no difference at all. So displacement is zero. Zero it is for one revolution. Distance is circumference. That is 2 pi r. I hope you understand the difference. That means distance cannot be zero, correct? For a moving body, once the body starts to move, its distance cannot be zero, but its displacement can be zero if it comes back to its mean position. It comes back to its initial position, it comes back to its original position. Is it clear? Clear to all of you as to how it should go? Hope it is clear. Okay? So, displacement is zero after one complete revolution. Distance is 2 pi r. That is why distance is greater than displacement. Okay. Now, one more case along a straight line. So, there is a friend of me here and I run to catch him. Okay. It's long time that I run. Okay, anyway. Okay. With this age, yes. So I start to run now. Okay. I start to run. I try to catch my friend. So I try to run along a straight line so that I can catch him faster. Smartness called. It is called smartness. Try to run in straight lines, correct? To make the distance minimum. Okay. So to make the distance minimum. So in this case, if the distance is d, if I am at A and my friend is at B, and I unknowingly try to catch him, he is standing there, so only I run, okay? Then my question is again, what is distance traveled? What is displacement? What is distance traveled and what is displacement? Can anybody answer? Can anybody answer this now? Yes, please. Keep the messages coming. Yeah, fast. So I am running in a straight line only, along the floor, x-axis only. Here distance is also d, displacement is also d. Very good, both d. Somebody has answered. Okay, so both are d. That means distance and displacement can be equal also. Okay. So, this is a point we wanted to know. Distance and displacement can be same if you are traveling along the straight line. Point to be noted. The point to be noted is distance and displacement are same if an object is traveling along a straight line without the change in direction, without the change in direction. This is very important. So this is what we get. Distance is greater than or equal to displacement, and they are equal only when they are traveling along a straight line. So with these basics, I will conclude the class for today. We will see more interesting classes in the coming days. Okay? Thank you for your patient listening. Thank you. Sir? Vikram sir? ಸರಿಲ್ವಾ? ಎಂಡ್ ಮಾಡುದಾ ಎಂಡ್ ಮಾಡುದಾ ಎಂಡ್ ಮಾಡುದಾ ಎಂಡ್ ಮಾಡ್ದ? ಹಾ ಮಾಡಿ ಬಂದ ಸರ್ ಬರ್ತದ ಒಂದು ಇದನ್ನ ಏನು ಮಾಡುವಲ್ಲ ಇವತ್ತಿಗೆ ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ನಿಂತಿತ್ತು. ಏನು ಕಾನ್ಸೆಪ್ಟ್ ಹೇಳ್ಬೇಕಂತ ಆಯ್ತು, ಕರೆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಯ್ತು ಇವತ್ತು. ಎಂಥವ್ರು ಉಂಟು ಅವ್ರದ್ದು ಮೆಸೇಜ್ ಏನಿಲ್ಲಲ್ಲ, ನಮ್ಮೊಂದು ಲಿಂಕ್ ಕಳಿಸಿ ಆಯ್ತಾ?